You see my skin as dirty, and you also see my culture as dirty, and then people come over here and you start pressing me in my country that I helped build, my family helped build.
I think a misconception that Asian Americans have about Black Americans is that we are violent, rude, lazy, that we don't like or respect them.
George Huang woke this morning to find his mini mall burned to the ground.
They just don't seem to have any respect for the Black community.
If anything, I'm not sure if there's enough knowledge about the Asian American culture to have a misconception, if that makes sense.
One of the biggest things I wanted to address is how much anti-Blackness is rooted in our culture. Sometimes it's very subtle, but is very deeply rooted.
Latasha Harlins, a Black teenager, is shot and killed by a Korean store owner.
I think they have a lot of the quote-unquote good stereotypes, and I feel like a lot of Black people deal with a lot of bad quote-unquote stereotypes.
Their oppression, is horrible, but Asian oppression is also horrible.
Asian people just want to hang out with Asian people only, like trying to talk with them or whatever. Sometimes they would just look at me and just like ignore me.
My name is Lynn, I'm 30 years old, I'm an actor, and I'm also unemployed.
My name is Faith, I'm 21, and I'm currently an apprentice for a hair salon.
Hi, I'm Tony, I'm 35, a digital marketer and a podcaster.
Hi, my name is Regina, I'm 29, I currently work as a data engineer.
Hi, my name is Taylor, I'm 25, and I currently work as a program assistant for a nonprofit.
What's up, y'all? My name is Joseph, I am 27, and I'm an actor, musician, activist, and looking for work.
If you agree with the statement, I want you to step forward and take a seat. I care about being accepted by white America.
Being accepted in white culture means, I guess I'm not discriminated in a heavy way, and I think there is a level of comfort that I take in that. Not that that doesn't mean I'm going against any other culture, but there is a comfort level, and I think it's a privilege that I have that I'm able to be looked that way even though I'm a minority.
Yeah, I think it's a sad reality that I have to sit here, literally only because I think currently white America runs our society. Mm-hmm. And our system. Right. And in order for me to benefit myself, my family, I need to align with that sometimes. It actually gives me great anxiety when I step into a situation and I know I'm the only POC, because then suddenly I am in my head as to how should I act to have a normal conversation. Mm-hmm. A lot of the times when I'm in a group setting when everybody's Asian, especially Asian people who only have Asian friends.
100%, I know exactly what you're talking about, yeah.
I get this weird feeling that now you're gonna label me as the white one. And I hate that because I'm not white. Yeah. It's just a really weird identity crisis.
It's the first time in my life I've heard someone say exactly what I've been feeling for my entire life, but yeah, that's exactly how I feel about that.
Can the disappears please come forward?
I hope that you can release yourself from the shackles of that, because you're never gonna be, and I understand, but you're never gonna be accepted. That's how they've set this country up. And as a Black woman, I gave up on that a long time ago because I know I'll never be accepted.
I grew up in a conservative white area. It was such a big difference where I was like, you know what? I'm gonna be the Blackest person ever. So, so for me, it was one of those things of I had to learn how to be more respectful to their culture because I felt like they were trampling on mine so much. I went the opposite, almost militant Black.
I have stereotyped the other side.
Bitch. Yep. I'll be honest. Yeah, so I think Asian people are cool personally, right? I'll try to hang with them, because I love learning culture. So I'll try to go and have conversations or whatever. And sometimes it's just been this more standoffish, this is our group, and we have our own little thing going on. And so I feel like for me, I was like, what's up with that, right? And so yeah, I mean, I've definitely had that pop into my head because it's something that you hear, and then when you see it, it's like your brain automatically just pulls up that stereotype, you know?
I grew up in a predominantly East Asian neighborhood, Arcadia, in San Gabriel Valley. But there's still this group of like old white families there. They would say things, and I would, back in middle school, like I would kind of repeat it, not really understanding, like, oh, Asians are bad drivers. I'd be like, oh yeah, Asians are bad drivers. And then I'm like, no, that's really racist. Would I feel comfortable about somebody saying something like that about black people? Like, no, I wouldn't. So I kind of had to like correct myself.
My parents didn't hang out with anybody else than themselves because it's that immigrant mentality. You kind of stick with each other to bring each other up because you feel as if you're other. You want to succeed in America. So if you've got a friend who is a mechanic, you need your car fixed, you're gonna go to that guy because you speak the same language, and so you're around the same kind of people. I think that definition of other is really scary because when you don't know what that other is, you start to make up what you think that might be, and that could be completely wrong.
A lesson I got when I was a kid from my dad was that your job is not to understand a culture, but respect the culture. And when I was young, I didn't really realize what that meant, but it had a profound impact on me. And I never saw that I was different. I wasn't treated I was different, and I think this is a minority. I don't think this is the case for everybody. But for me, because of that lesson before that I've had all throughout my life, and when I got there, I understood that as a culture and I respected it, and I think there was a vibe that came from that too, right? I was able to receive and I was also able to give. And I think because of that, I was able to not have that as I grew older.
Actually, growing up, I thought my brother was black. Because he had a lot of black friends. All I saw was his black friends. It's all he hung out with. So I would go to school and say, hey, I have a black brother, you know, trying to make friends. Like, I was so adamant. And then, like,
That's
my mom.
an interesting way to make friends. Yeah, right. I'm just like, okay.
But I was like 8 or something. Right. I was like, yeah, my brother is black. So I was like, cool. Like, I never had any bad ideas about black people. It wasn't until I started like really watching the news that I learned, oh my gosh, like, you know, they're getting stereotyped for things that I've never even seen a black person do.
I feel like they think that we kind of have a superiority, almost like white privilege, but in reality we don't, because we do struggle with the same issues.
I think some of my assumptions about Asian Americans are that they aren't necessarily fond of black people, or if they're not, they don't have any feeling one way or the other. They just prefer to be with their own. Not that I fault them, because that's how a lot of different races are.
COVID-19 has hit my community harder.
In different ways. Okay, because COVID has hit the African American community hard in regards to us as patients. We are getting it the most. We are dying from it the most. I think it's hit us in that way, but it's hit Asian Americans in the way that you all are experiencing a lot of overt racism that I think a lot of you may not have experienced before.
So I've been personally attacked, verbally attacked by people for being Asian. You know, did the protocol, I stood 6 feet apart, but they asked me to move further away because they treated me like I was just a full-on virus. I've seen my grandma get yelled at. That, I feel, is it's the Asians experiencing what black people have experienced, although it's not the same thing. It's, oh, you're Asian, so you're a virus, you know?
It's hard because I actually help a lot of small businesses, and a lot of, when I open their books and see what they can do, I literally have to give them objectively, you can't make it. You have to pivot, and they don't know how to do anything else, right? And I don't want to compare, but these are immigrants who literally don't know how to do anything else. So what are their opportunities next? So from that perspective, yeah, I think our community has been hit harder.
I think I'm going to personally feel, just because of what I've seen happen this whole year surrounding what's happened, I'm going to feel like there's been more disadvantage. But I know people that have been equally disadvantaged in terms of, you know, you're Asian, but you're not American, you know, and putting COVID on people, or calling it the Kung flu or the Chinese virus. You know, these are things that affect both of our communities.
When I first moved here, I took advantage of the beach and I decided I would wake up in the morning and go for a run. Someone walked by me and started saying something to me and I didn't hear him necessarily. It was an older black man and he called me some racial slurs and had alluded to me being Asian, me being dirty and eating bats, and I'm the cause of COVID happening.
I face more racism from the opposite side than I do from white people.
Just me. I think it's true for me, but I think I'm a special case given the fact that the industry I work in. I work in the tech industry. I face a lot of just rude comments, ignorant comments, and just unnecessary things that are said to me by Asian people. I've had a few Asian coworkers that told me that the way that I talk is inappropriate, that my tone and my voice is inappropriate for the workplace and I need to change that. I need to become more Americanized. And he said, don't worry, nobody else is gonna tell you that, but I'm gonna tell you that. And I get that more from my Asian coworkers and Asian managers than I do my white coworkers.
So the only reason why I didn't come up and agree is because I have experienced a lot of racism from Asians just because I lived in an Asian neighborhood, but I really think that's it. I've lived in a white neighborhood, predominantly white neighborhood. I've lived in a predominantly East Asian neighborhood. And personally, I prefer living in a predominantly East Asian neighborhood because in my experience, they leave us alone. Like they're not necessarily like super neighborly, but I'm not really looking for that. Like the racism I've experienced from white people is so much more like in your face.
It's hard for me to hear these things because as somebody who's also working, I worked at a tech company before and I'm always a manager in position, and to have somebody talk to someone like that, I don't think our community as a whole, this is not the representation, I don't think they would give the same respect that you guys are giving. And it's not right. It's not right. The fact that you can do that and give us the benefit of the doubt is so kind. It's, I don't think we deserve it. And yeah, I overall think that Asian communities are very racist. Not only racist against there are a lot of inter-racism. There's a lot of South and East racism that's prevalent. There's clear black, white, there's racism a lot. But the fact that we are getting the benefit of the doubt that I know that you guys have never been able to get from this culture, and you guys are still having the compassion to do it, really, I thank you. I think it's a very important discussion to have, especially I think as an Asian American. I've seen a lot of hypocrisy come from our side, and I think I wanted to have an opportunity to talk in a safe forum about it.
Asian Americans are more advantaged than Black Americans.
Well, we all agree.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of think Asian American privilege is white privilege. I think a lot of my success and opportunities that I got was purely because of how people judged my skin color and ethnicity. They thought I was smart, they thought I spoke eloquently, they thought I fit a minority profile into their culture, whatever it may be. But I've never had a negative stereotype, which means I have an inherent advantage, which is the whole principle of white privilege, right? So I think I'd be very disingenuous in saying that I didn't get a lot of my successes or opportunities just because I'm Asian.
Yeah, I feel like there was that whole thing of good and bad stereotypes is really important. I would love some of those like good stereotypes. Like when everybody thinks you're a thug, or everyone thinks you're ghetto, or everyone thinks that you're somebody's baby mama, especially the age I'm at now. Like that are all negative stereotypes and does affect me. It does affect me in the workplace. I would love to walk into the workplace and everyone assume, oh, she's the smartest in the room, or she went to a UC, or whatever good stereotype that is associated with Asian people. I would love to have that. And that's an advantage in some way because it allows you to have more opportunities where someone's making a quick judgment and they say, okay, who I'm going to work with. If they don't know you, they may pick that Asian person because there's already 100%. Those assumptions that's already there.
So I do feel like East Asians actually have it better than Southeast Asians in terms
I agree with that too.
Because we're darker, it's all, at the end of the day, it's all in the skin tone.
Yeah, I would echo that. I definitely think it's based off of skin tone.
Yeah,
if you're
100%.
East Asian, Chinese, Taiwanese, Korean, you have, in my opinion, more advantages than someone who's Filipino. Like my friend who was Filipino told me, oh, we're the black people of Asians.
Yeah.
So but I do think that Asian Americans have more advantages than Black Americans because simply you all didn't have to go through the systemic oppression that African Americans have had to go through due to slavery.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think the Asian Americans that wouldn't be here right now and that would disagree are the people who bought into the model minority myth, because that was basically brought on to us as a way to somehow align us with whiteness in the sense that, yeah, we're accepted because we're smart and we were hardworking and whatnot. And although that's that's all true, it's also saying you're a good minority, therefore there must be a bad minority.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
And
That's
so
it.
that's
a great point.
wedging when they want us, we're
Then
on their
we're
side.
here,
And
right.
then when they don't want us, then they push us aside.
I wonder often as an Asian leadership in a big company myself, sometimes how people perceive of me. Because I know that I'm articulate and I fit a lot of that stereotypes, but I also have a feeling that there's a very negative side to it.
Exactly.
Oh, he's only this, or he can only be this,
Right.
or he's perfect for this,
Accepted,
right?
but an
exactly.
outlier.
So that's a whole separate struggle, but I would rather have much of that as a negative stereotype for me than a lot of the stereotypes I think Black Americans get on a daily basis, where that's not even an opportunity.
I think because there's such anti-blackness in the Asian community, even coming from Asia, there's already a bias when you have these first, second generations. There's already that bias there.
Yes.
But then when they come here, they're taught that black is bad, white is good, don't be like these people. So you're already kind of forming this enemy type of
I'm trying to fit in.
yeah, you're forming an enemy based on what you're hearing. I've even heard Asian people say uncool things to me because they're like, oh, you're black, so you're gonna steal. So they'll follow me or just look at me and I'm like, am I gonna steal a 25 cents gum? Like, I'm not gonna risk it all for that, right? So I think it's just like that frustration of you seeing my skin as dirty and you also see my culture as dirty, and then people come over here and you start pressing me in my country that I helped build, my family helped build. Like, it's that anger that's kind of there, and I feel like that adds to the tension. I don't believe Asian Americans are dumped on as much as African Americans are in America. Because they are a smaller minority, they're not the first thing that comes to mind.
Black and Asian Americans coexist peacefully.
This one's hard because I think the peace is due to the fact of not talking.
Yeah.
I don't think it's due to anything really but that. It's the fact that that's them over there and we're over here.
Yeah, I think we coexist peacefully, but that doesn't mean we're progressing together,
Yeah.
because we both are just minding our own business.
Yeah.
But we really shouldn't be, because we're both living in the same society that is oppressing both of us in different ways. Why can't we open that door, have this conversation, and try and help each other as far as like helping each other's businesses, you know, working together? We never really see that, and I'm hoping for more of that, honestly.
Okay, so I think we can coexist peacefully. I just don't think I've seen enough of it. I think that the culture that we're living in right now, everybody's trying to act like we've progressed so far beyond because we're seeing all this stuff on social media, or there's certain things that are not socially acceptable. But there's a problem with that, because if we don't start talking about things that are potentially harmful that we have within us towards our neighbor, right? I can't love my neighbor effectively if I'm not honest with them. I think we need to start having more of these controversial conversations and being able to say, okay, you know what? I might have an offensive perspective, but at the end of the day, I need to get over that hump. So I need to be honest with you about some things that I might have had in my life and in my past, so that not only can I progress, but I can grow. This has been such like an eye-opener just to me, because y'all some dope people, for real. like y'all are cool.
I'm blown away by the compassion that y'all continue to have, and I wish all Asian Americans and Asians in general can learn from that, and I truly mean that from the bottom of my heart.
What's up?
Okay.
Come on. Here you go. Right here.